Welcome to It's a Good Thing. This is our third video podcast, and we have three parts that we're going to explore again tonight, as we do every night. We have trending topics, we have arts and entertainment, and we have
brought to you by
our sponsor. Trending topics. Let's go ahead and get started. This is tough. October 1st. The guy walks in. What?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was like, it's October. That means sweater weather.
Sweater weather.
It is sweater weather.
Yes, this is
That's
a tough
good
subject.
thing. It's a good thing.
Okay.
Sweater weather.
Sweater weather is a good thing. So a young man walks into a community college, and I teach in the community college. It could have been walking into my classroom, and he would have, if he'd done what he'd done there, he would have shot me in the head, and then he would have asked all the students what religion they are. He would have lined up all the Christians and told them, when they said, I'm a Christian, he said, good, you're going to see God in 1 second. Boom, shot him in the head. He was basically a hater. He wanted to hate on Christians in this case. Little Umpqua Community College in Roseberg, Oregon, October 1st. 9 people killed until he killed himself, and at least 7 people injured. It's a trending topic because people are still commenting on it, and information is still coming out about it and how it played out. But one of the interesting things is witnesses that lived through the ordeal have been filling in all the gaps. And I'd like to share with you, Anastasia Boylan was there in one of the classrooms, and she said that the shooter said, when somebody said, I'm a Christian, the shooter said, good. Because you're a Christian, you're going to see God in just 1 second. And then another witness, Courtney Moore, said the shooter forced everyone on the floor and began to approach each person individually. According to Moore, he was asking her classmates to stand up and tell him their religion. Then he began the shooting. Now, what's interesting, I have not heard this from the mainstream media. I've heard this from my internet news feeds. I don't hear this from the typical. So what do you guys think? Have you heard? Have you been keeping up? Have you heard, Caitlin?
Oh, well, I mean, depending on who's reporting on Facebook, at least, like more of the conservative places like Western Journalism or Fox or conservative pages will be saying that, yeah, Christians were specifically targeted. And then I've seen people comment on the more liberal news feeds that Christians were targeted, and people will say, no, that was never confirmed. And there's just a lot of confusion there, because apparently one of the parents of the victim said that that wasn't a targeting, or I don't know. There's just a lot of confusion still. And
so it's a trending topic because people are trying to figure out exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm. And also just the great controversy. Well, you have at least two things going on here. You got that gun control thing going on now. Then you got the discriminatory thing going on. And then you have the mental health thing going on. Because people are saying it's not the gun's fault, it's the person and the society that we're not helping them. So they become crazy enough to start shooting at people. And, but people in general, I think, are refusing to believe that Christians were targeted specifically. And though it is interesting to note that if another demographic was targeted, say Hispanic people or people who were Buddhist, then, hey, wow, this was a discriminatory attack, a hate crime. That's not the case right now. People are just saying, oh, you're just looking for something to be oppressed with. So it's just a lot of massive confusion and hatred from what I've seen.
I've been seeing that too, of just that oh no, it wasn't Christians. It was a terrible thing. But it wasn't targeted towards Christians.
It's really all about guns. It's not about the people who were killed or that they were targeted. Or that the culture we live in is turning rapidly against people of faith, especially Christians. Mm-hmm. So if it was shooter went into a mosque and started shooting wouldn't that be considered a religious hate crime?
You would think.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, it wasn't a church; it was a school. But all the people that were picked out, from what we can tell right now, were Christians. Now, Donald Trump, you mentioned, Caitlin, about the mental illness thing. Donald Trump was a trending topic today, too, because he was being quoted recently about talking about mental illness. And that,
autism.
and he said, you cannot, what are you going to lock up everybody who shows any tendencies towards violence? I mean, I was in a public school today, and a guy pointed his fingers like this, and I'd be like,
that's not Donald.
Is he a target?
Talking.
That's me. That's me
Yeah.
talking today. So, I mean, he was in a situation where I could have said, something about it. Does that mean that we're all mandated to report everybody, put them behind bars or something like that if they're mentally ill? And that's what Donald Trump's pointing out. But, of course, President Obama's trending because he's pointing out gun control, as Caitlin said, and saying we have to control guns. The interesting thing is, within minutes after this tragedy was on the news, he came up with the solution, gun control. After study after study and research and finding out all the facts in a few minutes.
Yeah.
What, Caitlin?
You can't just make laws about objects and completely avoid the topic of human nature. We don't keep our own human nature in check, and in this country we don't reawaken to a sense of personal responsibility. It's going to keep going where it's going. Time and time again, there's situations and drastic measures and liberal agenda pushed when it's a simple nature of sin. It's a simple matter of sinful human nature. So there needs to be revival, reawakening in this country.
Absolutely.
And it's that people say it's not a religious issue. If you're just talking about a religious institution, no, it's not about that. But it's about the heart and the soul of humanity. Mm-hmm. And that's where the real issue lies. And murder and gun control is a slippery slope to avoiding an issue that has been long overlooked in this country.
Oh, well said. And it's interesting that Donald Trump doesn't present himself at all as a Christian or as a spiritual person in any way, really. And yet, he's actually really kind of agreeing with you, talking about mental illness and the fallenness, if you use a different language, but just how broken society is. Mm-hmm. And instead of talking about broken society and the broken systems that make a society broken, other people are choosing to talk about guns.
Diversion tactic.
This is a really neat picture. This was a candlelight vigil there on the college campus. Look at that. That was a massive community outpouring of support for the families and the victims and the community just coming together to support one another. Love that.
And it's a good thing. We do want to focus on the hopeful message inside of the tragedy. And in the midst of tragedy and 9/11, which we remembered recently, in the midst of tragedy we've seen in country and war-torn situations, there's always seems to be a bringing together of hearts and minds.
Mm-hmm. And we look at this picture, we can say, it's a good thing. In the midst of a tragedy, when people come together in love and support and encouragement like this, it's a good thing. Mm-hmm. All right, guys, way to go. Okay, that's our trending topic, deep thought of the day.
Oh, did Caitlin have something?
We're going to add more, Caitlin? Okay, arts and entertainment. Take it, JMO.
Well, I'm an absolute geek about Marvel and the universe, and
we have a couple geeks around this table.
I can't hear anything that's going on.
And
crackling.
The main topic of this week's arts and entertainment is a culmination of a geek like me's dream. It's putting all your favorite superheroes in a mashup with Avengers: Age of Ultron. Now, this isn't a new piece, but it was so loved. It remained in theaters for what seemed like an eternity. I don't even know. It may have only been a week or two.
It was just released on DVD.
That it left the theaters.
Yep.
Yes.
It was just released on DVD Blu-ray.
2 or 3. It was still in the Bartlesville theater just a couple weeks ago, if not even just last week.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's got to set some records right there.
Yeah.
When did it start? Do we know?
Month
Yeah.
and a half
A year ago.
We like to talk
Wow.
about 3 main points in each of the segments that we do on arts and entertainment. 1 is acting, 2 is storyline, and 3 is the movie genre. So first, I'd like to say that my personal all-time favorite actor appears in this movie. Robert Downey Jr. is my personal favorite actor, male actor, and I get to see him being a prime example of his quirky self in this, and I love it. I'd say there's a whole new dynamic to the character of Hawkeye, where you get to see a heartwarming side of the character. You've always wondered, what is his purpose again?
Yep.
And but he really shows up in a cool way, and I appreciated a lot about this movie. I feel so biased talking about this stuff. It's hard to be unbiased and critique it much, just because I've seen the cinema sins
He's
count
a fanboy
on this thing, and there's a million reasons to kind of feel as if this is an over-bloated excuse to pack as many big names and superhero icons
they're
in
there,
one
that's
movie
for sure.
as possible.
Well, if you think Ultron's like that, wait until you see Civil War.
Right, the next one will be this on steroids. They just keep on adding steroids to every movie.
I love seeing my favorite actor go to work, and he did a great job for me. He's wrestling with the idea that the world is very vulnerable, and he can do something about it, and he's going to make to the best of his ability, he's going to make the world safe. And it introduces this philosophy of how far will you go to protect the thing you love. And he goes so far, and it creates a monster, Ultron, and you get to see him wrestle with his creation. And
Unintended consequences.
that's it. Well, the storyline of this. Who wants to take storyline?
Well, I don't want to get too much into it. For me, the acting, you talk about the acting, we watched it when the video just came out. We watched it in 3D because we got a little 3D movie theater down here, and we can watch it. And I love the 3D. I really made it come alive. Now, you saw it in 3D in the theater, and I didn't. Was it much different at home than it was in the theater? Was there more depth? What was the deal at home or in the theater?
I'd say that the amount of people in a shot of action was more in this movie, and it lended itself to a huge screen. I liked being immersed in the middle of the action in the IMAX theater.
IMAX.
I love seeing the titans of the Hulk and Veronica go to battle. By the way, for those of you who don't know what the heck they're talking about in the movie when they're talking about Veronica, they're talking about the Stark satellite that hovers around the world just waiting for the Hulk to lose it. And it's basically will come down and descend upon him at any moment that he gets slightly out of line.
I didn't know that.
So the giant Iron Man suit is affectionately named Veronica. For those who want to do more research, there's a joke in there for why it's called Veronica.
Okay.
But there's an Easter egg for whoever wants to find it.
All right.
For me, I really enjoyed the slow motion or the stop action shots, and especially that had all the characters in it at the same time when they're all coming together doing their thing that they do. And that was every time.
The first Avengers shot, it was.
I know. It was just goosebumps for me a lot of times.
That's a shot for the fans.
Absolutely. And even at the end when they are showing the credits and they have these pictures of this amazing statue.
Marble
statue that has been carved, or it looks like it, of that scene of when they're all fighting and everything. It's very, very amazing.
Caitlin's such a fangirl. She's over there going, oh.
What do you think, Jess?
I thought it was really cool. I gotta say, one of my favorite things about it, though, was learning more about Black Widow. That was so cool. She always seemed like one of those characters, kind of like what you were talking about Hawkeye. I was like, what are they doing here and what's their purpose? Because they're humans. They're just trained really well and do really awesome stuff. And so I like Black Widow, and I was really excited to see more of what her life was like when she was growing up and why she is the way she is.
You've always wanted to see a Black Widow standalone film.
Yeah.
So there was your there was your little moment.
I'm sure you're not alone, Joe.
Yes, that's true.
If you're not alone and you'd like to see a Black Widow standalone film, post your comments. We'd love to hear them.
Yeah.
Kayla, give us the last word. We're not going to have time to do a complete review, but.
Well, okay. I loved it. Any Marvel movie, it's almost an automatic love for me. I will say a lot of the critiques for this movie was that there was too much shoved into just the short amount of time that it had. With the storyline in the comics, they claim it could have easily taken 2 movies to really even just kind of get in depth with it. But I don't know. I didn't read the comics, so I loved it. The CGI was incredible. The voice acting for Ultron was hilarious. The character, I actually enjoyed the character of Ultron, the villain, because of just the excellent writing of the script and the performance.
There's probably a lot of you out there who have seen the series The Office. Now, in the final seasons of The Office, you get to see James Spader as the person who comes in and overhauls the office during a company transition. If you'd like to see what the face behind Ultron looks like, go look up a couple seasons of The Office with James Spader, and you'll get to see him, the same mannerisms show up. It's very cool because the robot takes on the life of the character of James Spader, and you get to see the real-life man do the real-life mannerisms of Ultron.
That's cool.
So if you'd like to see that, go check that out on YouTube or Netflix.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to have to move right along, guys.
But yeah, I loved it. Can't wait for the next movie.
Yeah, we're fans. And we would say Avengers Age of Ultron is...
5 stars!
Oh, good thing.
It's a good thing.
Totally 5 stars.
I forgot thanks.
Yeah.
All right, all the fanboys went crazy. All right, Carla, introduce us to our sponsor.
This is our sponsor for tonight, and this one has a little bit of different take to it. It's what I have discovered on social media, and it is a couple guys that are called the Singing Contractors. And what I enjoy about these guys is that they are what they are. They are contractors who, when they are working on the job, they just start singing. They each love to sing, and they would just start singing together. And if you've ever been in an empty room right after it's been finished, and the acoustics in there are just so much fun, that after they get a room finished, then a lot of times they would just let loose and sing a song. And they started making videotapes of themselves doing this, and I think they've been doing it for about 3 years. Well, within the last 2 or 3 weeks, they have totally caught on all around America. And they're from Indiana, and I guess what I appreciate about them is that they're very humble. This is just something they like to do on the back, in their spare time, but they're Christians, and they are singing gospel music, and they are sounding amazing. So we have a little clip here of them singing one of my favorites, Blessed Assurance. It's at the end of it. So let's see if we can hear this.
My song, praising my Savior.
They can sing.
Woo! They can sing.
Talk about
they can sing. I know.
Can sing.
Exactly. And so they have been invited to be out on Fox News. They invited them out, and so they've been on
Good
national
Morning America
TV.
or something.
And so they are just being blown away now with all the requests. Millions are watching them now. They now have a T-shirt that has carpenter nails in the shape of a cross, and they're called, the Singing Contractors, because they're trying to raise money to make their first CD.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesse, weren't you telling me a story about hearing them on radio?
Yeah, on my way to work, I like listening to the radio, and on one of the radio stations, they were talking about the Singing Contractors, and they were saying, oh my gosh, this is so great, you have to listen to it. So they actually put the audio of one of the videos on the radio, and right after that song, the lady called the radio station. She said, hey, who is the people singing? And I'd like to buy their album. And I'm like, well, they don't have an album yet. But that was so cool to be able to hear audio from a video. That hardly ever happens on the radio.
Wow, the power of YouTube.
I don't think they'll have any problem getting the support they need for their album.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I don't either. And they sing it, obviously, a cappella. And I'm impressed as a musician and how the one gentleman always starts the songs for him. He always kind of jokes and say, I hope I start this in the right key, because if I don't, we're going to be in trouble at the end. But he just starts it always so strong, and it's just me. I really, really enjoy listening to him.
They just come across as regular guys from the Midwest who are hardworking, honest guys, and they can sing.
And this is the kind of news that I would much rather hear.
So they're sponsoring us today at singingcontractors.com is sponsoring this episode of It's a Good Thing.
They are
a good thing. Hey, look, guys, we would love to have you join the family, subscribe to our videos, get them every week, and give us comments, give us feedback, become a part of the family here. We would love to invite you in. So put your comments below. And see you next week with It's a Good Thing.
Bye.
Bye.